Welcome to Supersize versus Superskinny. Checking into the feeding clinic is king of the monster portions, James.
I love food so much that I can actually eat and eat and eat until my body can't take any more.
An uninterested undereater, Modasser.
Where food's concerned, it's more of something that needs to be done rather than enjoyment.
Tonight, in one of the tensest swaps ever, both Supersize and Superskinny are pushed to breaking point.
I'm too hungry, I can't watch you eat that.
You can only eat so much. That's just pure greed.
James meets the 32-stone American who's cheating his gastric band, despite life-threatening illness and incontinence.
In the last 20 years, this is like the 10th bed I've had.
Really?
And at the end of their 8-week course, eating disorder sufferers Emma and Mina look to the future.
I'm going to beat this. I want a life without it.
This week's Supersizer is 32-year-old second-hand car dealer James Collier from West Sussex.
I love food. I love the taste, I love the smell.
From gigantic greasy fry-ups to colossal curries, there's nothing James loves more than tucking into a series of supersized portions, sometimes getting through 4 platefuls in a sitting.
My portion size is a lot larger than what I would call a normal size. My wife does me normal size portions and I always walk up to her and I tell her to put more on.
And with a mountain of greasy snacks, ice cream and takeaways on the menu, James has made it his business to ensure he never goes without, by any means necessary.
I always go for seconds. If there is no seconds available, I start to nick the food off my children's plate.
He will always go and take something off their plate. If I've not finished my dinner, he'll finish off mine as well. He does eat quite a bit.
And when he isn't stuffing himself silly, James is drowning himself in sugary squash.
On a normal day, I drink about 6 litres of fruit squash. I don't know what it is about it, I just love it.
So with his tank crammed full and his engine flooded, how does James feel about the state of his bodywork?
I feel really embarrassed about my size and weight. I hate my man boobs and I hate my belly. When I take the kids to the park now, after chasing them for a couple of minutes, I just get big stitch, out of breath, and can't breathe, have to stop and have a rest. And my greatest fear is that I will have a heart attack and I won't see my children again.
James, hi.
It's time to slam on the brakes and meet Dr. Christian Jessen for a full MOT.
All right, take a step forward.
At 6 feet tall, James's ideal weight lies between 13 stone 2 and 15 stone 12. At a scale-shuddering 24 stone 6, James is almost 8.5 stone overweight.
At your age, how old are you now? 32?
32, yeah.
It's quite a lot. It gives you a BMI of about 45.
At 45, James's BMI puts him well into the morbidly obese category, and there's a host of related health issues he's not even aware of.
Your cholesterol's pretty spectacular. 6.2 for a 32-year-old is pretty high.
Is it?
Yep, absolutely it is. I mean, in fact, all your blood fat levels are all deranged all over the place, which, quite frankly, you know, given your size, doesn't surprise me. It's a warning sign saying the problems are being laid down now and they will hit you in the next 5, 10, 15 years.
James clearly needs help getting in touch with his inner skinny. So step forward 31-year-old credit controller Modasser from Burton-on-Trent. At a third of James's weight, Modasser's worried himself to a frazzle over his super slimline frame.
When I think about comparing myself to other people, my age, my height, I don't believe it's the norm. I don't feel normal. It's very difficult in all parts of life, really. Basics with clothes shopping, because their small size just starts from a lot higher than what I am.
But with his erratic eating habits, it's little wonder Modasser falls short of his ideal size.
I do have a tendency to leave food in my mind. I get to a point where I just feel I'm just totally full and I just can't eat anymore, so that is when I just have to just literally stop.
And that's not all.
If I'm stressed, food is the last thing I actually think about, just because I just don't feel hungry.
Despite skipping meals and rarely finishing his dinner, Modasser remains mystified by the source of his slenderness.
In the past, I've actually tried a couple of different diets. First thing I tried was eating as much unhealthy food as possible. I just didn't gain not a single pound. Then I totally went on the level of eating healthy. I actually lost a stone. Constantly ask yourself why you can't do it. Why can't you put weight on? It really gets you angry.
It's time to begin unravelling Modasser's mealtime conundrum with a visit to Dr. Christian. At 5'9" and a super skinny 8 stone 3, Modasser is almost 2 stone beneath his maximum healthy weight of 9 stone 11.
You know, you're definitely under where you should be, but tell me why this is.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I've always been kind of like the same sort of weight, same sort of build. I can't really think anything specifically that's actually affecting it.
Might it be that you don't eat very much, maybe? Just as a clue there for you. Do you think? Or do you not agree with that?
My brain tells me I eat enough.
Dr. Christian has twigged that despite believing his diet's fine, undereating is still at the root of Modasser's problems. So for the next 5 days, he and James will be swapping diets to encourage James to eat less while proving to Modasser he can eat more. But before finding out what they'll be eating, it's time for Superskinny to meet Supersize.
See the ribs and everything. I don't think I've seen my ribs for years. There's nothing to him, so it doesn't look like he ever eats.
Nothing to compare, really. I think I'll put mine two together.
Probably, yeah.
Makes what, your wrist? He's really overweight, overeating, hungry pig, hippo.
Now they've sized each other up, it's time to find out exactly how they've eaten themselves to opposite extremes.
You, Modasser, let's have a look at the sort of breakfast you eat. Here we go. You don't eat a lot, do you? Well, I tell you what, I won't comment. Let's ask James.
Is that 1 week's worth?
That is now, yeah.
Okay, I probably eat that in a day, probably.
That's probably one breakfast.
Yeah.
What's the next meal? Lunch?
Lunchtime.
Some sort of chicken curry with rice. Chips? Couple of sandwiches, I think. Some crisps and chocolate bar. How do you feel looking at that and thinking about your weight and your diet?
Well, I think if, I don't know, the average person at that, you'd put some weight on.
Do you think?
It is.
OK, hold that thought. Let's have a look at dinners. That looks like chips, beans and probably a bit of battered fish. They look exactly the same as your lunches, don't they, quite frankly? Do you enjoy eating this?
Yeah.
You do?
Rice is healthy for you, a bit of fatty food with the chips. So I think it's, like, balanced out, really.
OK, just hold on a minute. Why are you here?
Because I want to put weight on.
So defending your diet now is not going to cut the mustard with me. There's something wrong with this, isn't there?
Indeed there is. At 1,300 calories a day, Modasser's minuscule portions add up to the recommended intake for a 3-year-old boy.
So not only is it really under in the amount of calories it should contain, but also actually it's under in every vitamin and mineral and phytonutrient that you should be getting. So is this a healthy diet? Is this a balanced diet? No, it's definitely not.
I did actually think mine was average, but obviously being told it's well under is something that hasn't actually sunk in yet.
James?
Yeah.
Shall we have a look at yours?
No.
No? Well, we're going to anyway. Breakfasts? So, cereal with blueberries and crumpets. Oh, that's quite different. A huge fry-up with everything. Let's have a look and move on to lunches. OK, now this is quite phenomenal. Probably half of one of those baguettes is a kind of normal-sized sandwich for one guy.
What, one?
Half of one.
Half of one.
Let's have a look at some more lunches. Tuna pasta salad. Roast beef, Yorkshire pudding, lots of vegetables. That's kind of a big lunch.
Well, at least James is eating his greens.
Do you think that you're slightly not seeing what's actually there?
I would say, yes, a little bit too much, but not majorly over.
Not majorly over.
Like Modasser, it seems James is living on planet denial, and his colossal dinners are still to come. Well,
I think that's just about taken us up to the top of the tube, really, hasn't it? Yeah, huge, huge, huge quantity. What do you tend to drink?
Fruit squash.
Fruit squash, let's put it in.
The 6 litres of squash James drinks every day pack a 1,500 calorie punch. By cutting the sugary drinks from his diet, James would lose 3 pounds a week.
You're averaging about 10,000 calories a day. A day. And on your worst day, you hit 12,000 calories.
Gorging on over 10,000 calories a day, James is eating for up to 5 adults. That's 8 Modassers.
Fat, you're getting about 4 to 5 times more fat than you need. That's about 500 grams of fat a day. It's essentially the equivalent of drinking, hold that, a pint of oil a day. So, what do you think? Quite disgusting, huh?
Yeah.
Excessive consumption of oil or fats increases the risk of developing heart disease and diabetes, high blood pressure and cholesterol. To cut back, steam food instead of frying it. Choose low-fat spreads over butter and try fruit toppings on toast instead of pastries.
Very shocked. No way did I think I'd be able to fill it up.
This week's feeding clinic inmates are portion monster James at 24 stone 6 and at a third of his weight, undereater Modasser. It's their first night in the feeding clinic and the guys are about to face their first diet swap dinner.
Heap the plate right up.
You really eat all that?
Yeah.
All in one go?
Yeah.
This is not like throughout the day?
No. This is one sitting.
To kick off, it's half a 9-inch pizza for James, while for Modasser, it's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 3, no, it's 4 whopping platefuls of Thai buffet.
This is just like proper excessive.
While Modasser's small portions will hopefully show James he can survive on far less, James's 4 mega platefuls should prove to Modasser he can eat a lot more. In theory.
It's mad.
My kids would eat bigger than that.
Serious?
And they're 3 and 4 years old.
With their attitudes to food at polar opposites, it's time for James and Modasser to discuss the one thing they have in common.
I'm here because I believe there is a reason why I'm underweight, but I don't necessarily believe that it's my food quantities that's causing me that. I don't honestly believe that.
Did you not feel if you ate more food you'd put on any weight?
Probably not.
I'm the same as you. I don't see my eating problem as the reason why I'm that big.
Denial all round again then, and with James's half pizza demolished, while Modasser has barely touched his takeaway, it's obvious these two need a big wake-up call.
You just don't eat that kind of food for one person. It's just, I don't know, to me that's greed. It's just pure greed.
Wasn't enough for me at all. Got to be really hard this week. A lot harder than I thought. A lot harder.